Hello, everybody. The subject of my presentation is the analysis of corporate bonds and their perspective in the Republic of Serbia, which may also serve as an example for other Balkan countries. As you can see, my name is Duško RANISAVLJEVIĆ. I'm coming from Serbia, and I hope that topic will be interesting for you. First of all, I will tell you a few words about corporate bonds. As you can see, corporate bonds represents a profitable instrument for a long-term corporate financing. So, as you, I suppose you know that corporate bonds are still insufficiently developed in whole Balkan countries. So, the paper aims to highlight the key factors behind such underrepresentation and to emphasize the advantages that corporate bonds offer in comparison with traditional bank loans. Since 2020, the Republic of Serbia has undertaken several initiatives to promote the issuance of corporate bonds. However, it is evident that the financial system in Serbia, as well as in the broader region, remains heavily bank-centered, bank-concentrated. I suppose you understand, with loans as the dominant source of borrowed capital. Only loans, only loans. For companies, the main motivation to issue corporate bonds lays in securing more favorable financing, while investors are motivated by interest income and investment security. So we talk about two type of motivation. During the COVID-19 period, policymakers faced significant challenges in maintaining economic stability. So Balkan region, including Serbia, all countries in the region, every country in our region had the problem in that period. So during the pandemic, the government of Republic of Serbia adopted a special decree of the procedure for issuing debt securities. One official measure, so aiming to enable companies to issue debt more efficiently. Nevertheless, this measure did not yield the expected results due to investors' risk aversion and the prevailing distrust within the economy. The few successful issuances were primarily by, if I can say, state-linked companies. So that measure wasn't good, unfortunately. Measure was good, but didn't not yield expected results. In the post-COVID period, efforts to promote corporate bonds continued. At the same time, the Serbian banking market underwent consolidation, while rising reference interest rates as anti-inflationary measures increased the demand for alternative financing sources. At the end of 2024 and the beginning of 2025, two significant issuances were released. One by Serbian National Oil Company, and I see something, majority Russian-owned, subsequently facing with U.S. sanctions, which undermined investor confidence, and another by private company Elixir Group. The later proved successful on several grounds, being categorized as a green bond, supporting long-term sustainable investments and ensuring satisfaction of all involved parties. Following these issuances in 2025, two banks, UniCredit and Banca Intesa, introduced new products, so-called mini bonds, with Banca Intesa achieving greater placements. In this model, banks acted both as issuance agents and as investors. It remains to be seen how these instruments will evolve in the secondary market and whether new investors will recognize them as profitable and trustworthy opportunities. As you can see, it was three companies, Diopta, Zlatiborac and Promot Group, with 4, 7 and 7 billion issuance. So let us briefly summarize the key advantages of corporate bonds compared to loans. I found flexibility, transparency, speed of execution, permanent financing alternative, collateral requirements, and this in the meditation. What about flexibility? The structure and the conditions of a bond issuance may be tailored to its purpose. What about transparency and speed of execution? What we can say? With bonds, capital flows are clearly defined, while bank loans typically involve more complex allocation mechanisms. Although banks have accelerated their processes through digitalization, bonds still offer advantages in efficiency. So we can say that banks are slow, but speed of execution is on bonds side. Alternative financing, corporate bonds provide available and often cheaper substitute to bank loans, fostering greater competition in credit markets. And the end, we have collateral costs. Unlike long-term loans, which usually require mortgages and impose additional expenses, bonds do not necessarily demand collateral, enable companies to access capital more efficiently. So we have some challenges and limitations of corporate bond issuance. I find we talk about challenges and the risk against advantages. And in my paper, you can find detailed description. I will tell you here about financial transparency and business model reliability, open obligation and financing risk, investor structure and secondary market availability, regulatory environment, and speculative risks. As you can see, there are a lot of limitation, because when we talk about price, companies, company who has good financial statements, they can offer cheaper bonds, but companies with a little bit not so good, if I can say, financial statements, they have to offer more expensive bonds. So that's the limitation for companies. So at the end, I summarize comparative analysis of corporate bonds and bank loans. As you can see, we have nominal interest rate and effective interest rate overall. So we can find that corporate bonds are cheaper. They have interest rate up to 5.5%, and 5.5%, and bank loans are 7, 6, 8%, so more expensive. But main difference is in collateral costs. As you can see, corporate bonds don't have any mortgage, any tangible security, but bank loans, especially long-term bank loans, have mortgage, have tangible security, and tangible security, as you know, tangible security has cost. Need insurance, need registration, and etc., etc. So total costs of corporate bonds, total cost is up to 5.5 plus issuance costs, some fees somewhere, and total cost of bank loan is bigger, is 6 or 7 or 6.5%, with fees connected with tangible security, with mortgage. As you can see, bank loan is more expensive. At the end, I'll give you main conclusion about my paper. So the conclusion is clear. Systematic solutions are required to encourage both issuers and investors to participate more actively in the bond market. So my paper confirms that the central hypothesis: corporate bonds are a more profitable instrument for economies in transition and growth, such as Serbia. In essence, corporate bonds bypass financial intermediaries, and their trading procedures should be made simpler and faster. And I think main conclusion is that governments must ensure safeguards against speculative trading. Finally, a key recommendation is the establishment of an unified regional capital market, something like single stock exchange for the Balkans countries, where both companies and investors would benefit from larger scale, greater liquidity, and more efficient debt trading. Thank you for your attention.